Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. If that music didn't get you moving in your seat, I'm not sure what will. Welcome today. We're going to have our webinar today about choose your own adventure, and we're going to talk about the different ServiceNow implementation models. So welcome. Before we get started, just have to go through the safe harbor notice here. If there are any forward-looking statements made on this call today, they are not an indication or a guarantee of future features or functionality that will go into the platform. So where are we going today on our adventure? Well, we're going to start with speaker introductions. We're going to talk about what are the different implementation models. And we're going to also go over some implementation scenarios and what implementation models align to those. And then we'll just briefly touch on what if you have ServiceNow Impact, how that would affect your implementation. So let's get started here. My name's Brita Koch, and I've been with ServiceNow for about 14 and a half years. And if the marketing in my title is a little alarming, don't worry. I spent 10 years in the field as an engagement manager with our professional services, now expert services team, helping 150 customers deliver projects in their environments. So this is obviously a topic near and dear to my heart. And also I was a ServiceNow administrator at my previous employer. So Sherry, do you want to give us a brief intro about you and who you are today?
Yes, absolutely. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining. Sherry Cleary. I am a manager of a group called Partner Success. And my team really works with partners across the globe, ensuring that from a delivery quality perspective, they have what they need to make all of our customers successful.
Excellent. And we also have Dave and Antona here today.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. This is David Antony. I'm part of the broader sales and services organization. I'm the global portfolio owner for our co-delivery and partner service offerings. So really helping to bring value to our customer base through our joint success as a partner ecosystem with ServiceNow. So happy to join and look forward to this conversation.
Excellent. We like to try to keep these webinars a little bit interactive. So we're going to start off with a poll here. And the question is, are you familiar with our different implementation models that are available? And you can select all the ones that you know. And if you don't know, then door number 5 is for you. And it looks like we got somebody out there right away, door number 5. So awesome. Hopefully this webinar will give you a lot of good information that you can take back to your organization. So yeah, it looks like don't know is running hot and heavy here in the lead so far. Self-implement and partner-led seem like they're kind of about the same. And we'll just let it run here for a few more moments and let everybody have a chance to respond. So we thank you all for joining us today. Hopefully this will be a informational, good seminar for you. All right, it looks like the responses have slowed down a little bit. So Sean, if you want to take down the poll, we'll move on to talking about what are the different models and give you a brief introduction of those. So the first model is you could implement with a ServiceNow certified partner, and the majority of our customers do that, and Sherry will talk to that scenario. And then there's also implementing with our expert services team, aka professional services, and David will take you through that scenario, as well as the following one, which is where you might implement with our expert services team, as well as with a partner in sort of a co-delivery model. And then last is the self-implementation model, which I'll speak to. And let's go ahead and get this started. So Sherry, it's all you.
Awesome. Thank you. So it's interesting that, we had a lot of I don't knows. So I'm going to talk to you about the partner-led scenario when it comes to implementing ServiceNow solutions. I don't know if people don't know, partner-led implementations make up about 90% of all the implementations out there in the ecosystem. So it is one of the more popular things. Not to say it's the best or the worst, but it is an option. And I know it's complex because we have over 1,300 partners in our ecosystem across the globe, big ones, small ones, all shapes and sizes. Some focus specifically on one product, some focus on the entire platform. But in general, they are partners that belong to our program. So they're registered and they have a set of rules that they have to abide by if they want to continue to operate in our ecosystem. So it is something that we manage and we govern, and we're very proud of our partners, and we continue to work with them, my team in particular, on really driving delivery quality, right? Making sure they're set up for success so that our customers are set up for success. So key thing, when you decide you are going to do a partner-led implementation, ServiceNow does have a lot of information out there to help you make those decisions, right? We have a whole big book on how to select a partner. There's a site called the Partner Finder. You have your account teams that also can point you in the right direction. The thing that we won't do is specifically recommend one partner, because it's really about the customer's choice, right? We want them to be comfortable with the partner they choose. We want them to be a match culturally, technically, and it's really about you guys leaning in and having those conversations with a set of recommended partners, ones that are certified, that are qualified, and you'll find a lot of that information on the Find a Partner site. But it's important that when you're making those decisions and you're looking at your options, really talking to the different partner organizations about what their makeup of their teams looks like, right? Obviously, you want them to be trained, you want them to be certified, you want them to have the
Hey,
appropriate
Sherry,
Yep.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but they're having some difficulty hearing you. Is there any way you can turn up your volume?
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay. See, I was having audio issues yesterday too, so I don't know what's going on, but is that any better? Um, can you hear me, Britta?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll try and speak up, so hopefully this is better. But when you're talking and you're with the partner organizations, one of the key components of any, project, whether it's going to, focused on agile or whatever, is having the right project management and the program management folks. So you want to make sure they have a robust project management organization, right? They have a PMO, they have qualified people that understand how to run projects. This is one of the areas where we do get a lot of feedback on our partners, where they may have some weaknesses. So it's important, right? Because these guys are the captain of the ship. They're going to keep everybody in line, not only their own team, but they're going to make sure that they're leaning in with the customer, making sure we're staying on time, on budget, that the business outcomes that everybody is expecting are being realized throughout the project. So it's really important that everybody understands that that is a key role. And we want to be able to, the partners also want to have a face-off with the customers. They want them to have a robust project manager too, so that they can collaborate and coordinate together. So that's a key role. In terms of a partner team, one of the things you want to, again, every implementation is different, right? Every customer is different. The way, you want to approach your implementations and your projects is going to be different, but we should always have an engagement manager, a project manager. We should always have a certified, qualified technical group of consultants, whether it's one or two or three, but for the products that they are deploying, you want to make sure that they have that experience. Even if they're certified, it's nice to know, have you done this before? Is this the first time you're implementing ITOM, or is it the 10th time, right? Those are things that you want to know because you want to be comfortable. You also, a key and critical role for in all of these projects is having a good business process consultant, because hopefully ServiceNow is about business transformation. It's about digital transformation. And a lot of times it's working with our customers and saying, we have to do some business process reengineering to make ServiceNow really sing the way you want it to, and to get the return on your investment. So being able to have those good business, having a partner that's going to understand your business and be able to help you transform it in a way that is going to be most effective. And then solution architects. We have all flavors of those, right? We have technical architects, we have certified master architects, and different architects. But again, because our platform is so vast and we have so many better together stories where a lot of our products work nicely together, and depending on what your project is and what it is, you really want somebody who understands the platform, and you want somebody who understands our global solutions framework and can bring that expertise to the project and that expertise to the end customer as well. Now, for large implementations, there may be other roles that are key and critical, like let's say it's a project that has a lot of integrations. You want somebody on the partner team that is an integration expert, right? Integrations are important. They're key. Some are easy out of the box, some are hard. And having somebody who really understands that dynamic is important. And the engagement model, it's important too, right? It emphasizes the things that you want to be able to understand that that partner is going to be able to help you accomplish, not just to get the project up and running and live. It's really like, what do you need? If this is a really big, impactful project, maybe organizational change management is something really important to you. And if you don't have an internal process or team that does OCM, talk to the partner about it. Is that something they can offer? Many of our larger partners absolutely have outstanding organizational change management processes that they can help you. What about training, end user training? You want to make sure that when this thing is implemented and the project is over and you've got this shiny new tool and process, that everybody who needs to understands it. So training is key and critical. If you don't have a training organization or some other model, and you want the partner to be that for you, it's important to understand what you need and what's important to you, and make sure in your conversations with your partners as you're making your choices that you are having those conversations and you understand what they can bring to the table. So there's no surprises at the end, right? And the other thing too, I know a lot of our customers have partners that they've been working with on a regular basis. And maybe they started with ITSM and did something else. Don't assume, and you love that partner, and that's great. We want our partners to invest in their customers and have long-standing good relationships. But don't assume that just because a partner did a great ITSM implementation that they know how to implement our financial services, right? It's not always the case. And a lot of times what's happened is, you have a great relationship with a partner and you'll just assume they know how to do something. And of course, they want to do what they can for you, but if they don't have that expertise, talk to them about how else they could accomplish that project. Could they, some of the things that Dave's going to talk to you about, could they do a co-delivery? Could they work with another partner together? There's all kinds of options. Just don't assume that every partner knows everything about our platform, because there are some that do, but not all of them do, right? And the customer resources that need to attend ServiceNow training, that's the other thing. Before the project starts, somebody should be telling you guys, this will go much quicker, much cleaner, much more successful if the people on the other side of the fence, the resources that are going to be getting this new process, tool, implementation solution, if they understand exactly what they're getting into, right? Because you can have more productive conversations. So be confident in that you're bringing the right people to the project, get them the right training and the right skills before the project starts so that you can have really good, productive conversations. I know I said a lot. I know I talked fast. Were there any questions that came up that I need to try and answer, guys, or are we good? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, I'm muted because I was hoping maybe that would help the sound issue. We do have one question about value better together, but I think we can hold that one till the end.
Okay. All right, then I will continue to contribute throughout the rest of the presentation, but that's the partner-led implementation story, and I will turn it over to David.
Hey, thanks, Sherry. That was an awesome overview and a perfect segue. I think the common theme you're going to hear from both Sherry, myself, and Britta is it's all about choice at the end of the day. We're not here to provide good, better, or best. It's what works best for your opportunity. So let me shed some light on, when we believe that leveraging ServiceNow, our expert services team exclusively, is a favorable model. So when we think about ServiceNow managing all phases of an implementation, both from a commercial and delivery perspective, makes a lot of sense to leverage this in what we would say highly complex multi-workflow opportunities, where to the point that Sherry was making, you may have a trusted partner that's really good in ITSM, but has limited exposure from our customer workflow or our designer workflow. Really looking at the breadth and depth of the ServiceNow team in those, multi-workflow opportunities makes a ton of sense. The other area where, we see a ton of value for customers to leverage the ServiceNow model is for our new products. I mean, the reality is that as we're incubating and bringing new products to market, there's limited knowledge in the overall marketplace. So leaning on our platform design team expertise really becomes critical for our new and emerging markets. Now, how, from an engagement perspective, does that look when you're working directly with ServiceNow? As you would expect, you have a direct line of communication. We're managing the project from an end-to-end perspective, from a project management as well as from an actual technical delivery. Always, if you think about the key members across any project, typically would have a project or an engagement manager looking at it from an end-to-end perspective. but you'd also be supported from a technical perspective with our technical consultants, our business process consultants, as well as a solution architect if needed. And I think, the other main takeaway that we should be cognizant of when leveraging the ServiceNow resource team is our ability to dig deep into our engineering resources if needed for some new and complex opportunities. So keeping all of that in mind, again, always a choice to be made, given size of the opportunity, complexity of the opportunity, maturity of the customer, as well as your chosen partner potentially would drive you to have a conversation around maybe it makes sense in this scenario to lean more heavily on the ServiceNow team. And I think that, Britta, is a good segue if we shift over to the next model, which is near and dear to my heart from a portfolio perspective. It's really our joint delivery model, co-delivery, more broadly used term across the industry. But that's really where we're looking to marry the industry knowledge and expertise from our partners and their experience around digital transformation, and marry that with our deep platform experience. And again, not to sound too cliche, but we do believe that 1 + 1 = 3. It is a better together story when we can bring unique value from the ServiceNow side of the house, as well as the deep knowledge experience of your business environment that your partners provide. And it's all in an effort to drive, maximum adoption, maximum value as quickly as possible. Now, the reality is that there is a level of complexity when there's multiple parties involved, but we think that shadows in comparison to the value that's brought to the table by, the strength of the ServiceNow team alongside the strong partner ecosystem. So one, areas that we think, really lend itself well for joint delivery opportunities, as I mentioned before, very, use case specific, industry specific opportunities where the partner is deeply ingrained in your business model, understands the nuances and niche nature of those segments, but then leaning on us heavily from a platform expertise perspective. When you have both of those, thought leadership, entities together, it becomes a powerful model. Another area where partners, really drive forward and add extreme value is around, organizational change management, thought leadership. So really looking at the things that they do well from an overall project perspective and marrying that up with, the platform expertise that our team would bring to bear. And again, from a customer perspective, it truly is the best of both worlds. Obviously, again, becomes more of a coordination effort around who's on point for which different parts of it. And I think, Britta, that becomes a good segue to this next slide. It really shows where we believe we can add the most value when we're working in parallel with our partner ecosystem. So like from a design framework perspective, the approach we take is we try to, leverage our methodology, Now Create, for all of our implementation activities. So, when we designed this joint delivery framework, we wanted to really allow maximum flexibility around the resources and the activities that are provided by the ServiceNow team. And again, back to the point I made before, depending on the complexity of the project or the experience of both the customer and the partner, this will dictate largely how much or how little support is needed from the ServiceNow team. And again, we have a menu of services available that span across the entire, you see off to the left, planning, governance, review phases of a project. And the real key is mapping out like where you, as a customer, as well as us, ServiceNow, as well as the trusted partner, will each provide unique value across that life cycle. And from a delivery perspective, like what are the true deliverables that the ServiceNow team could support in an overall project? Again, by no means is anything set in stone, but a few examples of where we've seen previous projects really excel from the ServiceNow and partner side of the house is, where we are able to, infuse our expertise in the right areas. And that could be in this form of an architecture or an implementation plan review, but, very early in the process where we're really mapping out what the project should look like. Or we could look at design reviews and config reviews to kind of guide us through some major project milestones. Or on the back end, typically we can drive health scans and sprint scans to help ensure that we're delivering on the promise that us and the partner have put together at the beginning of the project. And ultimately, you have, direct access to our resources as well as the partner having access to the ServiceNow team. And it's all, again, in an effort to really drive maximum adoption and maximum time to value. So I'll pause there. I think hopefully that's planted enough of a seed to spur some questions towards the end, but I'll hand it back over to you, Britta. I think we have a few more pieces we
Yeah, and
want to
I just
cover.
wanted to say, Britta, before is this collaborative model we promote with our partners all the time, right? We want to make sure that if they're taking on a project where they think that, yeah, maybe they're not 100% certain that they're going to be totally successful, to be very thoughtful about it and to work with, the folks like Dave and his team to say, okay, I think I'm going to need this kind of help or that kind of help. We encourage them to ask for that help. Again, just like Dave said, it just drives success. And so we encourage this model with our partners all the time as a strategy for success.
Yeah, and I actually worked on some projects where we had a code delivery model before it was the cool buzzword. And as David said, it really is all about the communication, because the ones that went better were where we had clear communication lines and clearly defined roles and responsibilities, and everybody knew who was on point for what. So while there is a little extra complexity to it, it's manageable if you put the right tools in place. And that leaves me to talk about the last implementation model, which is self-implementing. Excuse me. And so this isn't necessarily a model that we champion a lot. But on the other hand, we understand that certain customers are going to choose this path for multiple reasons. Maybe you're in an industry where it's really hard for you to bring in outside contractors to work in your environment. Maybe you have budgetary constraints, or perhaps you have a really strong PMO methodology. This is the way, you typically don't bring in any kind of a partner to do your IT implementations. So, and I'm sure there's other scenarios where this could occur, but if that is your scenario, then, there's some certain things that you really need to be aware of if you choose to go down this path. First of all, you'll really need to make sure that you have a really strong team with the right people, the right training, and the right amount of time available to work on this. It's not fair to tell somebody who already has a day job to say, hey, we want you to project manage implementing ServiceNow, because it's really disrespectful. It's kind of indicating that maybe that person doesn't have a full job, or they're expecting that person to work a lot of extra time to get the work done, or they just pull somebody from an area that's not as critical, and they're like, well, we can take so-and-so off of whatever they're doing for 6 months to run the ServiceNow project. Well, they might not have the right skills and training or aptitude to be a project manager. And the same thing is true with your developers. If you're expecting your developers to be full-time on a ServiceNow project, developing and learning the platform while they're still keeping the lights on for your existing platform, again, it's not really a fair position to put people in, because they don't have enough time to do two jobs, because they're really two jobs. So that's, those are some of the pitfalls of doing self-implementation, is making sure that you have your team in the right availability. And I can speak to that from experience. At my last employer, I was the ServiceNow administrator, but I was only dedicated 25% of my time. The rest of my time was spent on Active Directory administration and supporting our field sales automation platform. And so, I'd have some time to work on ServiceNow, and I'd feel like I was making progress, and then I'd get pulled away to the 75% of my other responsibilities. And then by the time I got back to ServiceNow again, I'd kind of have to start over on what I was working on. And, you're just not able to really move things along in that kind of scenario. So I can't stress enough having the team available. And I do have a blog series on the community that I've been writing about some project management pitfalls, suggestions, recommendations, et cetera, that are in our new customer onboarding discussion board. And the two other people on that team who are really important to you that I need to mention are a really strong executive sponsor. I mean, that person is always very important to any project, but particularly if you're self-implementing, you need that person who really drives this to completion and is really there to break down barriers for you, as well as some kind of enterprise architect role who can not only see and understand ServiceNow, the platform as a whole, so you're not developing in a vacuum, just thinking about one part of the platform that you're going to use, but also what's that 30,000 foot view across your IT organization, and how does ServiceNow fit into the other apps that you have and platforms that you use in your environment. So those two folks are really important to carry the leadership of your project if you're going to self-implement. Obviously, if you're going to self-implement, we're not leaving you stranded. There are resources out there and resources that our partners and expert services use when they're delivering with customers. So you have the community where you can get involved with the ServiceNow ecosystem. It's a great place to go ask questions, interact with other folks on our platform, and get your questions answered. We also have the ServiceNow Create platform that David alluded to. So that's our in-house implementation methodology that's been built over time as we have worked with customers for the last 15 years. We've created these processes and procedures and templates and workshop guides, et cetera, that we have found, help make projects successful. And naturally, you'd also want to think about going out to Now Learning and taking some courses, or perhaps getting some kind of a certification in the platform if you're going to be doing self-implementation. And this is important too, even if you're doing one of the other models, and we'll talk later a little bit more why that's important. And then we also have our product doc site, which you've probably become familiar with. It's sort of like our online product manual, where you can find all the technical information about the products and how to set them up. And then we also have a developer portal where you can interact with other developers. So we don't leave you hanging without resources. And obviously these resources can be used no matter what model you select. But we would really highly recommend that even if you are choosing the self-implementation model, that you consider getting some consulting services, perhaps from a partner or from us, to help you with some guidance along the way, because we really want you to be successful. And, while we say the platform's easy to configure, and it absolutely is, that is one of the great parts about our platform, but you also have to be thinking about the bigger picture, not just configuring forms and that sort of thing. All right, so that's my spiel on self-implementation. Now let's move over to considering how would you choose which of these implementation models was working best for you. And what we would recommend is asking yourself some really key questions. And if my slide animation would work here, that would be really great. Here we go. So these are some of the questions that you should be thinking about asking yourself. How big is your company? And is this implementation going all the way across your company? And what are the products you're doing? Are they implementing new or existing products? And Sherry kind of alluded to that, around partner expertise. You want to make sure you have the right expertise if you're doing new products. Are you implementing products of low or high complexity? Is it a product that's fairly straightforward like ITSM, or are you looking to do something maybe like virtual agent and implement, making sure that intertwines with multiple parts of the platform? Do you have an existing relationship with a ServiceNow partner, that's working well for you? And do they have the expertise that you need for this? And another question you might ask yourself is, again, how many resources you have available to help and develop ServiceNow, and what's your level of commitment and resources that you're willing to apply to this, and what do you need to bring in from the outside? So that's just a short list of questions you can ask yourself to get your mind thinking about how to choose an implementation model, because we understand that every organization is a little bit different. And so there's not really a one size fits all. But that being said, we're going to move on here, and we're going to talk about a couple of different scenarios. And again, trying to make this an interactive session, so it's not just us talking to you. As you read through this scenario, you're a commercial company, you have an existing relationship with a partner with the right expertise, and you're implementing or upgrading existing ServiceNow products of meeting complexity. Feel free to go in the chat and say which model you think would work for this. And there's no wrong answers here. It's just an opportunity for you to throw out some ideas here. So anybody want to be brave? Oh, look at this. Awesome. So we've got two folks saying partner led. Anybody else want to take a guess? All right. Well, let's see. Partner led. Yeah. Self-implementation. Okay. Co-delivery. Okay. Most people are saying partner led. That would probably be our most likely recommendation in this scenario. So I have 3 more scenarios for you, so keep those chats coming. The next one is, let's say you're an enterprise organization, you have an existing relationship with a ServiceNow partner with the right expertise, but you're implementing a new ServiceNow product with high complexity. Any thoughts on this one? Expert services led, high complexity. I'm sorry, it's still, you're right, it does say low, Roger. Guess I should clean my glasses today. All right, we got expert services led. We have one guest on co-delivery, another expert services. Yeah, yes. Okay, it seems like everybody's pretty keen on that one. So, right, implement with ServiceNow or potentially a co-delivery. All right. Next scenario, I'll try to read this one right, Roger. A large enterprise customer, existing relationship with a partner with the right ServiceNow expertise, and it's a new ServiceNow product, and we're not telling you what complexity is, so I can't mess that up this time. So let's see what kind of guesses we have here. Expert services. It seems like everybody's kind of leaning in. If it's a new ServiceNow product, you want to have expert services. Oh, there's stay with the partner, expert services. If you have confidence in your partner, absolutely. Partner led. All right. Well, let's see what our recommendation here was again, expert services or co-delivery. So like I said, there's no wrong answers here. There's just suggestions. So now you're a very large enterprise organization. You have no prior relationship with a partner, and you are working on existing or new high complexity product. And the thoughts are coming in here pretty quickly. Expert services. ServiceNow all the way. Yep. All right. Anybody else? Don't be shy. Like I said, there's no wrong answers here. Expert services. Okay. Yes. Yep. All right. So we'll turn the card here. I'll do my Vanna White thing. And yes, implement with ServiceNow. Or hire the entire team of ServiceNow experts. Okay, yeah. If you're a large enterprise customer, you might have the budget to do that, right? All right. Thanks for the interaction, everybody. Really appreciate that. It's fun to see you digesting the content here and getting into it. So now we have some more interaction for you. We have our poll question. So now that we've gone through these different models and explained them a little bit, which ones do you feel like you understand now? And I didn't give you door number 5 on this one because that's just, you have to understand at least one of them, please. So let's see what we got here. And it's pretty much running neck and neck, so that's good. It seems like everybody has gotten a good understanding of all the different models. All right, we'll let it go a little bit longer. And despite the bad audio, it seems like a lot of people picked up on partner-led. And as we mentioned earlier, this webinar will be available on demand on our YouTube channel, along with our other onboarding deep dive webinar series webinars. So it looks like we've got more than half of the folks have responded here. So let's go ahead and move on to our next slide, which is talking about what makes a model successful. And my colleagues here, David and Sherry, feel free to chime in on these. So the first one is you own it, no matter what model you choose. Because you don't want to bring in a partner, whether it's us or one of our certified partners, and have them walk away and you don't know what's going on. That would be a really bad scenario. And even if you're going to continue to keep the partner on board, if it's a partner you have a long-term relationship, you still need to own this because you want to make sure that you're getting out of this what you need to get out of it. You need to stay informed on what's happening in the platform, and you should have processes in place to document your procedures and understand why certain configurations have made, et cetera. And David and Sherry, do you have anything else you'd like to weigh in on that?
Yeah, I think I think that's an important one, right? And not, not every marriage is made in heaven, but it's really important to be clear up front what your expected outcomes are, right? There's a reason why you're investing in ServiceNow. There's a reason why you purchased the subscriptions and the licenses that you purchased. You have expected business outcomes. You need to be very clear with whoever and yourselves as to what it is you're expecting, and then making sure that you're measuring it along the way, that you are seeing the expected outcomes, that they're coming to life for you. And if they're not, it's okay to raise your hand, right? Have the hard discussions with your partner, have the hard discussions with your account manager that you're not seeing what you thought you were seeing before it's too late, right? Because we want to make sure that you have a successful go live, that we drive adoption, that you love your ServiceNow solution.
100%.
Yeah, I'll just add, regardless of which model you choose, we place an overemphasis on that early part of the conversation, really understanding the business requirements to reinforce everything that Sherry and Britta said around you own it. We want to make sure you are receiving the value you expect at the end of the day.
And getting customers to slow down and have those conversations about the business requirements at the beginning is often the hardest thing, because everybody wants to get their hands on the platform. But yeah, that's also a really important part of it, which kind of leads into our next point, which is to have a clearly defined design, timeline, and deliverables and outcomes. And Sherry kind of alluded to that too. If you don't have a timeline, you're probably not ever going to go live, or it'll be very sloppy. And also you want to make sure you know what your major milestones are, what deliverables and what outcomes you're trying to get out of this. And at the very beginning of the project, be thinking about how you're going to measure those outcomes, not just say, oh, we're going to reduce our mean time to repair or call volume, we're going to increase deflection or whatever. How are you going to do that? And what are the metrics you're going to use to measure those to see if you are being successful with that? And again, I'll open up Sherry and David, if you have any other comments.
I think an important thing is making sure that there's an executive sponsor on both sides so that everyone is aligned, right? Here are the expected outcomes, and that you're able to measure those and realize those. And I think it's really important that in the beginning, like David and Britta both said, that you're having the workshops, that the customer's bringing the right people to the table, and you're having healthy discussions. Don't make light. That is a really important part of the project. Don't make light of it. I know it's time consuming, and like I think Britta mentioned earlier, everyone has a day job, but this is key and critical, is everybody understanding the requirements, understanding exactly, and having those conversations about, here's how we do it today, but it takes us 5 days and we want it to take it 5 minutes, whatever the case might be. Have those conversations. Talk about the art of the possible, and get alignment with whoever is doing the implementation.
Because you don't want to get 6 months after implementation and have your CIO or CTO come to you and say, well, are we getting value out of ServiceNow? And you don't have an answer for them. So that's pretty critical. The next thing is communication, which we've talked about earlier, not only amongst your team members, but also your stakeholders and your end users. The mistake I've seen a lot of customers make is they try to make the project team very small because they don't want to hear from the detractors or the naysayers, because they think that'll make the project go faster. But often those folks who are not on board, first of all, they're not going to help you champion putting the new product into your environment. And secondly, they generally have some kernel of truth that needs to be brought forward. It may not be the way that you want them to present it. They may not present it in the most positive way. And you can often flip those people to be your most ardent champions if you include them. But if you don't include the right people and cast a wide enough net, you could get to UAT and find out that you have missed the mark in a lot of different ways. And that's not where you want to be. And you haven't really saved any time at all.
Yep. And I'll just add, Britta, we're all in a technology environment, but the reality, this is a human business, and communication is critical at every step along the way. Our chances for success or failure almost always hinge upon expectation setting and communication. So again, easy thing to say in theory, but in reality, it's really about taking that extra step forward to over communicate in many instances, especially when we're having multiple parties involved in the conversation.
Yes. Which leads in well to our last point here, which is to make sure you have the right team with the right expertise and time available and training, aptitude, skills, etc., with clearly defined roles and responsibilities. Without that, projects will struggle. And maybe, David, you want to talk a little bit about how that works in co-delivery, or, how you've seen it work well.
Yeah, it's just reinforcing the same point. Early and often communication, initial kickoff meetings, understanding roles and responsibilities, expectation setting, all the things that are going to set any project up for success. And then constant monitoring, right? We ensure that we have weekly check-ins or sprint reviews or other ways to make sure that we're all staying aligned throughout the life of a project, because again, they can span over multiple weeks or even months. So staying connected continues to be the top priority for any project that we're involved in.
Yep. Yeah. All right, so those are our four keys of being successful. And then, one other thing that we would be remiss if we didn't mention is we know, some of you may have purchased our ServiceNow Impact product. And so the way Impact can help you with your implementation is, we have strategic expertise that folks that can lean in with you there, and product experts, as well as certain accelerators. For instance, there's like Jumpstart Your CMDB, Jumpstart Your Upgrade, things like that you can take advantage of. There's also some training credits that come with it that you want to make sure that you would take advantage of as well. And also the health monitoring tool of your instance. So we're not going to do a deep dive on the Impact. There's a lot there to unpack about Impact. But if you are an Impact customer and you want to make sure you're using it to its fullest capability, reach out to your squad or your account team and get more information. All right, so we're going to leave you with some key takeaways here. Obviously, the first one, the choice is yours. And, we gave you an overview of the models, some questions to think about, how each model can work and what, different values they bring. And then, of course, you own it. We can't stress that enough. And then also, there are the individual models. So you have the 4 different models. I think everybody has a pretty clear understanding of each of those and how they work. And then lastly, make sure you do your preparation planning, as we've talked about, having any of these models or Impact or whatever doesn't excuse you from doing that pre-work that still needs to be done that we've talked about, and making sure you're prepared and understand your business processes, your goals and outcomes, and all those other good things, and your communication that we really can't overstress, I don't think, because it would always be better to over communicate than under. And you may think you're over communicating when you're actually not sometimes. All right, I'll leave that up for another second or two if anybody wants to grab a screenshot of that summary, although we will be sending out this deck after the call, so you'll have all these resources available to you. Next month, we'll be talking about how to make citizen development work for you, so you won't want to miss that one. And again, we thank you all for attending and hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for coming.